Hello, viewer, and welcome to Take on Tech. This is a program that comes to you every Thursday evening, and it's a program that explores technological concepts and debates and allows you, the viewer, to interact with the panel of experts. In other words, it allows you to understand basics of technology really in a simplified manner. Today, we are going to have an all-women panel of experts, and not just women, but young women discussing technological issues. We are going to be looking into why you need to pay attention to your online footprint. For you to engage with us, I take you over to Jane to give us the social media handles.
A warm welcome once again to Take on Tech. My name is Mirriam Wanda. We are glad you are with us this evening, and I am so happy today we have an all-girl panel, including the hosts. So we're doing very well today. So as aforementioned, today we're going to be looking into why you should be paying more attention when it comes to the content that you post online, because as we always say, the internet never forgets. So today we're going to be going deeper into this concept and even giving you tips and hacks when it comes to how you go about the content that you get to share with the rest of the world on your social media and any other online platform. In the meantime, any questions that you may be having in regards to this discussion, feel free to send them through using the hashtag TakeOnTech. That is on Twitter. Our official station handle ever remains at KBC Television. My handle is Mirriam Wanda, and my colleague, you can find her as G. Gethaiga. And of course, our SMS number is 20154. Do leave a name and location as you send through your messages. For now, let's get started with the discussion. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you, Jean. The topic, paying attention to your online footprint. In today's panel, we are going to be listening to Mirriam Wanda from Siasa Place. So Mirriam engages in technology and Siasa, politics.
Yes.
Karibu sana, Mirriam.
Thank you.
We are going to also have Mwara Gichanga. Mwara is not just a young woman who is an internet user, but policy and tech expert. Karibu sana, Mwara.
Asante sana.
We also have Liz Orembo, who is not new to this program. Liz has been here before. Liz is from the Kenya ICT Action Network, Kictanet. Karibu sana, Liz.
Thank you, Gigi.
And Liz, I will shoot the first question to you. Please tell us, what do we mean by a digital footprint?
Digital footprints are the traces of data that we leave when we navigate online. It can be through computer, it can be through our mobile phone. It's inevitable because even now we are generating traces of data online, because my phone now is telling where I am, my GPS location, and any other signal. Even when I'm switching on my microphone through my phone, Google is also collecting my data. So it's inevitable everywhere you are, as long as you are switched on to internet with any device that has your account, an identifier or an identifiable account, then it keeps on emitting you digital traces. Some people call them shadows because they are the sites where you've been navigating online and what you've been doing.
Can you give us examples?
So when I talk about data, they can be things like words, that is text. They can be video. They can also be things like GIFs, what people say
What's
about
GIS?
you. Those are pictures that are in motion. Yeah. So examples are, like I said, the location. They can be your social media posting, and unfortunately, they can also be what someone else has said about you. They can also be cookies. When you go to kictanet.or.ke, the administrator will be able to know that you went to homepage and then you went to publication.
You've mentioned cookies, and every day, these days, every time you go onto some website, there's this message that comes and tells you, this website collects cookies. Or can you just explain to the ordinary user what that is? Because Sometimes people don't understand and they just, they just click on yes. So what is the implication of that? Please explain what the cookies are and what they mean when you sign on to them.
Okay, cookies are basically the history of your communication to the website. Let me use a house analogy. I come to your house, I enter the sitting room, that's like a home page, and then I go to the bedroom, I do something, and then I go maybe to the loo. An activity is also done there. So when you come to our website, those are traces of information that you leave. When you go to a home page, maybe you clicked on something else, you clicked on a video that played, and then you went to, let's say, a blogs page, you shared it. Those are information that is gathered by the website admin who is able to see. And now the advantage of cookies is to, most of the time, as most of them claim, is they give you a better experience because they collect information that you're interested in. So when you navigate, even the next time you come, you've realized that when you're filling out a form and then you close that website, the next time you come, you just write your name, GG, and the rest of them types out. So you don't have to remember everything. You'll just be pressing enter, enter, enter. And then some interesting information that the website might have learned through and set up an algorithm will be coming your way. The advantage, that's the advantage. Another advantage is the advertising. Let's say you are looking for college and then you landed into a website and then you clicked, let's say, a course on a library. So every time you navigate, it will be coming. And that would mean your internet experience, it's kind of tailored to what you want.
Okay, we'll come back to that, for you to tell us whether that's a good thing or a bad thing when all these websites have your information, ready-made. Mwara, why should we be concerned about our footprints online?
That's a very important question, Grace. And I think to answer that, I just give this analogy of the same way you are very secure about your offline life, same way you want to close the door to your gate when you enter the house and put a padlock, is the same way your online life you want it to be secure, private, and safe for you to navigate. It's because of the level of penetration in this country of internet. Most of us have become users of the internet. So we use the internet in our daily lives, be it communication, be it work, be it our financial interactions. They're all online. So we are very careful about some of that information getting into the wrong hands. The same way you leave the door open to your house, a malicious person, a thief, will come and rob your home, is the same way if you don't secure your space online, someone malicious will enter and your information will be compromised. So it's very important for all of us to take into account the level of interaction in our security habits online.
We will also come back to you on how we secure ourselves online. Mirriam, what are some of these basic? What should we be concerned with when we go online?
Yes, so social media hasn't quite, helped in terms of it encourages you to release a lot of information. So as a citizen or an online user, it's very important to also be careful what information you leave. For example, you could have, if you're checking into, I'm at Big Square, I'm at where, who is privy to that information. So it's also important, one, to not reveal too much. Be careful of who's out there checking information. Also something else to, as Liz had mentioned about cookies, it would be also important to clear your cache, clear your cookies on your browser.
What's a cache? What's your cache for that ordinary user at home? Because this program is about getting Kenyans to understand the basics of technology. So what's a cache?
I would say cache is data that's left, like information you've left online. For example, when you fill the form, when you fill your data, passwords, all that. and also from websites you've visited. So Cachet is a mixture of all that data left, sort of like markers. So it's important to clear out that information. Also, one more thing would be logging out of websites. For example, I know people leave their emails, logged in automatically. If it's not your personal computer, or maybe you've gone to, I suggest that you log out. And I think also these websites, or how do I put it, Gmail, you have like a two-factor security, like the way you check in, so you can have your phone get a security code. So apart from just logging in with the password, you can now also have your phone receive a message. So now it's only you who can access it. Yeah.
What did you say? Two-step checking in.
Yes.
I'm just wondering whether it's been broken down in ways that people can understand. Maybe, Liz, you can try and break it down in a way that any ordinary user can actually understand. Because I have been to cyber cafes, and I have just gone onto Gmail, and I have seen people's, I didn't snoop, but as soon as I wanted to check on my Gmail, the browser brought me somebody's email. I have also gone onto Facebook, and it's brought me somebody's page who was using that computer before. And so when you talk of this two-step in Gmail, can you please simplify it so that once we finish this program, those who are watching and have not put up those security measures can actually go on and do that?
So today, Gigi, I'm going to use mostly the analogy of house or a house. So two-factor identification is like putting two padlocks or two steps for anyone's entry.
Or the way we have a burglar and a door.
And then, exactly. So social media sites and most accounts are now giving two-factor identification, so that when I have your password, I can log into Gmail or whatever account that you have. But that's not it. It will send a code to the phone that you're registered with, and that would mean that I don't have it, so I wouldn't be able to sign in. So for you, you will sign in, and then after that you get the code, and then you sign in again with the code that that site has given you. So stealing someone's password may not be enough when you have two-factor identification. I might need to get your password and get your phone at the same time. So it's difficult for someone to break into your account.
Thanks, Liz. Mirriam, you did mention about people sharing a lot of information. Is there anything wrong to that? Or let me rephrase the question. How much is too much information?
I think it also, to that question, it depends on the person themselves. Like, how much information do you want to reveal? So how much is too much depends on you. But at the same time, as we've mentioned before, the more information you leave out there, the more hackers or people online are able to get your information and use that to hack or against you online. Yes. So yeah, it's good and bad. So
yeah. Again, Mirriam, thank you for that. Too much information all boils down to the individual. But I guess my advice would be, what kind of life are you living? Do you have children? Do you have children? Do you have a career? Are you a politician who's a woman? And you know, women are most vulnerable to harassment and attacks. So some information that you've already put out there can be used against you. And then the line of defense becomes murky. So you have to go through your online habits, evaluate, see what will work against you and what you will be able to claim and defend without having to go through murky grounds. Again, I think Liz will talk about the good online habits. and the bad online habits, but then it's really good to understand what information will come against you. For example, for the youth, and as a woman youth who wants to get a job out there one time, have I put information that an employee out there or an employer out there will go through and it will guarantee me a loss of that job? So it's weighing the negatives that you've put out or information that you've put out that will work against you. These days, even traveling has become difficult. Some of the information that we put out there in our Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts, can be something that can be used against us and not to get a visa. I know like the United States has issued some stringence on getting visas based on your online habits. Have you talked about things that are triggering, that propagate terror or propagate crime? Then that will affect you getting a visa to travel to some of these countries. So it's weighing out what information you give out and what will work against you in the future.
I'm just wondering whether, because you're all young women, have you checked in on Facebook, Take on Tech,
Yes. Hashtag
hashtag
on
KBC
location,
Manenos.
KBC.
Have you done that today?
No, but probably afterwards I might do that because digital footprints may not be as necessarily bad. And just like Mwara said, you need to evaluate yourself, see what what you want people to know about you. It's kind of like an opportunity to mold your identity online, because most of the time offline you're not able to, but here you have a chance to mold it. And the advantage is, even today with globalization, you're applying for a job in the US. That person in the US doesn't know who Grace is, doesn't know who Mwara is, and they will be depending on the net to get your identity. So that will be the reason why you need to shape your online identity. So if you are in KBC, say you are talking about one or two things, so that you paint yourself as an expert in that area.
So you are telling us that there is a positive aspect to having a digital footprint. Mm-hmm. So how do I build a positive digital footprint?
So the first step would be for you to evaluate yourself, see what your interests are, how do you like to be seen online. So one of the first steps would be to Google yourself, and it should be a habit that you Google yourself more often. The results that you'll be seeing as top, the ones that you'll be seeing towards the last pages, but what you should be careful about is to kind of determine or control what happens on the first page on any search engine. And how you do that is for you to generate content. Unfortunately, and mostly for women, content is usually generated by other people, not us, because you're not active online users. So the first thing would be to have your own website. There are websites that provide free domains, free templates like WordPress. If you want to be known as an architect, put out your portfolio. A photographer, put out your portfolio. If you want to be known as, let's say, a political analyst, analyze some of the ongoings that are happening. That is one of the ways that you would create your digital identity for someone who hasn't met you yet, to know what you've been doing, what Grace or Mwara or Mirriam is all about.
Okay, we'll come back to you so that you can tell us what is a negative digital footprint. And as you spoke, I was wondering, is that why on social media you see somebody just posing next to high-end cars, big hotels? Is that building a positive footprint? And we will come back to that. Now, Mirriam, earlier on, Mwara did point out that women are more vulnerable online. And I know you work with women in politics. Would you make a comment on that?
Yes.
Why are women more vulnerable?
I think one, it's also looking at our system. if you look at how politics is in Kenya, we have a patriarchal society. So in that case, even when you look from even our mothers and grandmothers, politics was always for the men. Even you find now we still we have women who are very vocal, who are online, but it's easier to attack women than it is to attack men. So you find a lot of women are harassed online, and they're trying to be vocal. Even leaders, even just ordinary women are attacked online, trolled by men, and that's what's reducing the participation, be it politically or just personally. And so you find at Siasa Place we advocate a lot for pushing for women's voices. So a lot of what we do is do training to young women and teach them how to use their voice and how to protect themselves online so that they're able to get their issues out and be free in their online spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mwara, I don't know why you pointed that out. Do you have evidence? Because that is something that can be challenged.
Evidence is there. I mean, Kicktonet and in collaboration with Amwick and
Who is Amwick?
sorry, Amwick is Association of Media
Women of
Association
Kenya.
Media of Women in Kenya.
Yeah,
I'm
we
so
said
sorry.
you avoid acronyms.
Acronyms, I apologize
Yeah, because
for
you're not talking to the tech community.
Yes, precisely. Yes, and the studies show that women were more targeted when it comes to harassment online. And not just any women, but women who are in media, women who are politicians. So I don't know, it's just what Mirriam has talked about. I guess the patriarchal system sort of depicts more harassment towards women having a voice and having power. It's seen as intimidating and not authentic to our society. So it's easier to attack women because it's not something that we're used to. So it's very misconstrued and very misguided. But I guess it's maybe when we start working within ourselves, because the internet is a reflection of who we are. Our online habits are a reflection of truly who we are. So unless we internalize ourselves and review ourselves about treating women and just treating people like humans online, then we'll start changing the narrative.
Okay, you're watching Take on Tech, a program that explores technological concepts and brings you a panel of experts. In other words, explains what tech issues are in basic language. We now take you over to Jane to tell us what's happening on our social media. Jane?
All right, the hashtag is Take on Tech. Let me just get straight to it. We have Chelsea who is saying what your child shares online can affect them in the future, and this includes when it comes to getting a job, getting admission into schools, or even getting a visa. Parents need to teach their children about their digital footprint. All right, we have Twahir Kasim who says, millennials, listen and listen carefully. Yeah, this is where many a youth mess up their lives. The net is like the legendary Big Brother watching. All right. Nathan says, in the cyber world, every action leaves a digital footprint. Protect yourself and your businesses. The internet never forgets. One last one from Leah who says, the responsibility of citizen protection should lie on private companies, but with the data and digital footprint left by people, there is enough information for the government and citizens to collect and share this information as needed without information being volunteered. Again, the willingness that we share all this information on our online platforms. Keep those comments coming in. We'll be sampling them as we proceed on with the show. Back to you, Grace, to just address some of these comments that we have received so far.
Thank you so much, Tohir, Chelsea, and everyone else who has given us their views on social media. I think I want to pick from the last tweet, sharing information. Like you have had, that tweet has said. The issue of sharing information, I was just thinking, if I share my children's pictures, if I share everything that I do, and if somebody uses that information, is it okay? And Liz, take it us.
Actually, the responsibility lies on you because before you share, you should have judged or kind of see who else is getting affected and what are the aftermath of you sharing. Because again, sharing too much information would render you vulnerable to theft, even offline theft. It's a danger to you, to the people that you're sharing data about. Let's say you've been taking pictures of your child, saying their names, things like age. I can just call someone who's done that and tell them that I have so-and-so data about you, or I have so-and-so kid, or I can even kidnap them from school and actually trigger or get what I want from you, be it money or any other thing. So when you're sharing, we have to be careful about sharing and kind of calculate the possible occurrences that might come in. But another thing, maybe when you want to share such information, then social media usually has some sort of settings that can enable you to kind of control who gets that information. Because sometimes we use things like Instagram to keep our albums or kind of track how our year has been. So let's say you've posted on Facebook and this is data that you only want your family members to access, then you can put that setting for not to be public, only to your family members or to your wider friends, or you can just put it in for the public in general. But when you put it for the public in general, remember, all that information that you're sharing on your social media, I can Google about it and get those pictures. So if you put it in public, it means that anyone in the public can view it. It's not controlled for a certain type of audiences that you might want them to access that information.
Okay, social media platforms, Mirriam, what Liz, in connection to what Liz has said, and the fact that you deal with women and you've talked about them being harassed online, do you, do you think that social media platforms have a responsibility towards users? Because when Liz speaks, I hear like she's speaking to experts. So go to settings. I am thinking the first time I used Facebook, and where would I get those settings? What would I do with them? Are they important? Please take us from there.
So Facebook has advanced, and you'll find they have, apart from just those tools of public, I don't know whether anyone ever pays attention to the report button. So if someone posts something that is sensitive, or you feel that is not worthy, for example, you can also, like in the recent, in SA, when they had the xenophobic attacks, so you'd find there are these videos going around of people being banned and all. But before even you share, are you aware, first, is that information correct? That information, have you verified where that data is coming from? So even if you find sensitive content that maybe your child, a naked picture, for example, you can report that, and Facebook will use that to be able to take it down. Those are just some of the examples that you can use.
Okay, so we are telling the viewer, the next time you are on your social media pages, go to settings and look at what it provides, because there are privacy settings that you can actually activate to protect yourself. And when we talk about protection, Mwara, you talked about people needing to secure themselves online. How do they do that?
Simple. Have strong passwords.
What's a strong password? 1, 2, 3, 4?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Or
I think there's usually a guide most of times when you're getting to get a password. For example, on Google, they'll tell you use numbers, use characters like hashtag or star. Use, these days people are told use your mother tongue, something that not many people can be able to decipher. and
Like
then
madhogodhanyo.
like madhogodhanyo.
Yeah.
More even slang, more popular or nuanced words, that expressions that most people won't be able to understand or capture very easily. And then even as you have strong passwords, change them on a regular. Most times you're told change your password after every 3 months or 6 months,
Yeah.
just to have a hygiene or a digital, have a healthy digital lifestyle where you're constantly spring cleaning your life to evaluate how long ago have I changed my password. Just the same way you have a spring cleaning for yourself where you check when's the last time I changed my toothbrush. I think it's time to get a new toothbrush. It's the same thing that applies. How long have I stayed with my password? When do I need to get a new password? Other ways is don't save passwords on your browser, because we have that tendency of save password so that when you come back to browse, it's easy to just connect you automatically. But then because in the economy that we live in Kenya, is that we're always sharing devices. If it's a laptop, it's a shared device in the home. So most probably you're using this with your sister, you're using this with your parents. So when you have a saved password, it's easy for them to retrace some of the places you visited, some of the websites you've accessed, or even just by mistake or by unintentionally send emails that were not meant to be sent out. So have strong passwords, clean up your passwords. Make sure you have check through your apps, for example, on your phone. Before you download an application, understand what permissions you're giving to the application. For example, when you're downloading a Bible on your phone, some of those settings come automatically that it's clicked, location enabled. So you see, why does the Bible need to have access to your location?
Or contacts.
Or contacts, you know? So these are some of the information that will be used by these third parties who have access to your information to manipulate you or make you vulnerable. So go through your apps, see what you're giving permission to. Mirriam and Liz have mentioned, understand the apps you're using. And I think even before we talk about digital security, it's important to have digital literacy, making sure that people understand how to use these apps. Yes, we have internet, and yes, we have free access to these apps, but we truly understand how to use them. Do we understand how to use settings for privacy, settings to report? So some of these things need to be considered when we're advocating for sort of like a curriculum for digital literacy as well as digital security.
Okay, listening to it's quite interesting, but I know some applications will not allow you to proceed if you don't give them permission.
Yes.
And I think maybe that's a debate for another day. I'm told we are almost running out of time. I want you to give your closing remarks, half a second, and for you to tweet your closing remarks. How do we clear caches?
Clearing caches, you go to the settings and to be honest, you have to play around with, let's say, your phone or even the websites to see where or what settings are where on your screen. But simply, you can clear caches through the settings on your phone or the browsers. You just right-click and then you clear the history that's there. But my parting shot is to tell our audiences that you can shape your digital identity, and that's the opportunity that you've been given by the internet, that you can actually tell who you actually are on the net.
Closing, just tweets.
Mine would
240 characters.
Of course.
280 characters.
Mine would be, yes, be mindful of what you share online, and also be respectful to others of what you share. At the same time, still use the platform to, enjoy and
share information.
Yes.
Mwara, closing?
Closing remarks, enjoy the internet. I think it's the
That's
one
important.
thing, it's the one place where you can have multiple personalities. You don't have that in normal life. But at the same time, like they mentioned, be mindful, be respectful, treat people the way you want to be treated online, and make sure that you close the door when you use the internet.
Thank you very much. That's it for us at Take on Tech. Today we had an all young women panel. Thank you so much, Mwara, Mirriam and Liz for participating in this show. I now take you over to Jen to close the program for us. Jen?
Remember to close the door when you open those internet doors, just as it has been rightfully put. That brings us to a close of Take on Tech. We want to close our door, but thank you so much for being with us from the beginning up until now. We absolutely appreciated your time. Be sure to join us again next week right here on KBC Channel 1 for another fantastic edition of Take on Tech. My name is Mirriam Wanda. Do have a lovely evening and enjoy the rest of your viewing.
On Channel 1.
Kitu ya muhimu kwanza ni kujua hali yako ya status ya HIV.
Unaogopa kwenda pale hivi kwa clinic, unaweza pitia pale hivi kwa chemist ya mtaa, uitishe a self-test kit.
Tonight on Inside Government, we are joined by Professor Ntiba Misheni. He is the PS in charge of fisheries, aquaculture and blue economy. He's going to explain to us and help us understand what is Kenya doing to, number one, help its population with fish.
We should pay more attention and invest more in unraveling investments in the blue economy.
Cheki, ukiweza abstain.
Lakini maji yakizidi unga,
wrap it before you tap it.
La bila gloves haiwezi. Rieni kujijua.
Afya bora, maisha bora. Jipime, jiinue. You can always be up to date by logging onto our website for both local and international news. You can also know what is happening in the business and sports world. Get to know our TV programs, careers and vacancies. For more details, log on to our website www.kbc.co.ke.